Hey guys, welcome to the first edition of Loddy's UFC locks. So unfortunately, the main event for this UFC has been canceled. Middleweight champion Robert Whitaker is out with a hernia injury. Super bummed about that. Now there's only one big name fight remaining on the card. Not that the fights won't be exciting, but this card was already short of marquee guys, and now the main event has been yanked. Anyway, first lock for this card. Lando Venata over Marcos Mariona. First of all, let me teach you guys something. The UFC is relatively new still. Okay, when it began back in 1993, everyone that came into that sport came from a specific background. They were wrestlers, they were karate guys, boxers, jiu-jitsu players. No one in the UFC spent their lives training in mixed martial arts, obviously. And no one really took the sport seriously until Dana White and Zuffa bought it in 1997. By the early 2000s, it started to become recognized by fighters as a viable way of making money. So if you're above 30, you were anywhere between 12 and 15 by the time people started considering MMA as a serious career. It's likely that if you're above 30 in the UFC, you grew up specializing in a specific discipline or disciplines, but it's likely you didn't spend your whole life training in mixed martial arts. You probably started as an adult, and each individual discipline is very different when it's isolated versus when it's a part of mixed martial arts. The way you box is different in mixed martial arts compared to the way you box when you're just boxing. The way you throw kicks is different. The way you wrestle is different, etc. So if you're below 30, it's likely you grew up training in just mixed martial arts, or at least you spent a higher percentage of your life training in mixed martial arts. So if you find someone 25 or above fighting someone 35 or above, or somewhere in that range, between 25 and 30 and 30 and 35, I'd go with the young guys. Now, there are some contingencies that come with that. The younger fighter can't be too young, and I'm going to expand on that when I make my next pick. The older fighter can't be one of the elite in the UFC, because while two average UFC fighters in that situation, I'll take the guy that's more well-rounded. If we're talking about the elite, wrestling appears to be the most important of the disciplines. If you have good wrestling, you can control where the fight goes. So the older fighters that came from a wrestling background and are elite level, and that's the key, elite level world class wrestlers. I'm talking Olympic level wrestlers like Daniel Cormier, like John Jones, like Tyron Woodley. Those are the only current champs in the UFC over the age of 30. If a well-rounded UFC fighter at 28 years old in his prime, been training in mixed martial arts his entire life, he's not necessarily at an advantage against one of those guys. Now, if he's fighting a guy that's 34 that's been wrestling his entire life, but that isn't an elite level wrestler, then he has an advantage. I personally believe the best way to be one of the greats in this sport is to find out which discipline you're good at and spend most of your time becoming great at that while also learning the other disciplines. Let's say you're really good at stand up. Keep working on that. Become one of the best in the world. Make your stand up game one of the best in the world. Also, work on your takedown defense a lot. Spend a lot of time on that. Keep the fight on the feet where you know you have a decided advantage, because that's what you've spent most of your life doing. You're going to win most of your fights that way. That's Conor McGregor. World class stand up, very good takedown defense, okay wrestling, okay jiu-jitsu. So the point here is 26-year-old Lando Venata has been training in mixed martial arts for much longer than 32-year-old Marcos Mariano. Actually, in this circumstance, he even made his debut before Mariano. Venata's first pro fight, despite being 6 years younger than Mariano, came in 2012. Mariano's first professional fight came in 2013. One thing older guys usually have over the younger guys is experience. Mariano doesn't even have that. This will be his 11th pro fight. This will be Venata's 15th. Now, Mariano does have about 3 inches on Venata. He is quite big for someone fighting in that weight class, but it won't matter. Venata will be able to control where the fight goes. He'll get him in the clinch. He'll take him down, pass his guard, whatever. He just has so many skills at his disposal, and it will be too much for Marcus Mariona. Lock number 1, Lando Venata over Marcus Mariona. Okay, so sorry for going on that rant, but it is the main theory that I base most of my picks off of. I do have a few other theories, and I'm sure I'll get into those at some point. And in the future, I will reference this. I won't go on a long rant again explaining it. Kind of like when I talk about reading the line when I give you guys my NBA or NFL picks. Now, just spent all that time talking about taking the younger guy over the older guy, and my second lock is going to be the older guy. Smiling Sam Alvey, baby, over Jim the Brute Crute. Okay, Alvey is somehow the underdog in this fight. Don't understand why. Maybe it's because this fight is in Crute's home country of Australia. Maybe it's because he's 9-0. I'm not sure, but this is only his second fight in the UFC, and to his credit, his other fight was just over 2 months ago, back on December 2nd of 2018. So this is a tough kid, no question about it. But he's not ready for Sam Alvey, who's got 44 pro fights under his belt and will be fighting in his 17th in the UFC. If Crute was 3 or 4 years older with just a few more fights, a few more years of training under his belt, then no question he takes this. But to get to that point, he'll need to go through some growing pains. This will be one of them. Sam Alvey just has too much experience for Jim Crute. Lock number 2, Smiling Sam Alvey. Okay, so I'm kind of going in a random order here. I want to do Venata first to set up my next picks by telling you guys one of my theories about the UFC. I thought going straight to Alvey and explaining why we're going with the older guy despite that theory, but now I'm going back down to some fights earlier on the card. The first is the main event of the prelims. Let's go with Devontae Smith over Dong Hoon Ma. Let me get this. There we go. 25-year-old Smith versus 30-year-old Ma. This guy is a monster. Ma will have no answer for the pressure that he will face from Smith. Lock number 3, Devontae Smith over Dong Hoon Ma. Lock number 4, Ricky Simon over Ronnie Yaya. Again, we have the same formula for my Venata and my Smith pick. 26-year-old Simon versus 34-year-old Yaya. Ronnie Yaya has world-class jiu-jitsu. He's a second-degree black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. The problem is Simon grew up training in everything. Actually, one of his biggest strengths is his wrestling. So Yaya will need to get Simon to the ground to use his jiu-jitsu, but he won't be able to. Simon, like Venata, will be able to put himself in positions where he can succeed. He will be able to turn the fight into the type of fight that favors his style. Lock number 4, Ricky Simon over Ronnie Yaya. Okay, I have one last lock for this UFC. Let's go with Israel Adesanya over Anderson Silva by TKO, KO, or submission. And you can take this bet on Bet365. I think they're paying 70 cents on the dollar. That's much better than the 18 cents you get to take Adesanya straight up. There's no question he'll win this fight. I think he'll get the finish. Anderson Silva is too old to be fighting. He's up against one of the best in the world in his prime. Honestly, he'll be lucky to get out of the first round. Lock number 5 and final lock of the day, Israel Adesanya by TKO, KO, or submission over Spider Anderson Silva. Thanks for listening. Good luck if you're placing any bets. I do have a last-minute NBA lock that I'll be posting shortly. Take care and have a good night.
Major key alert! I got them keys. I got them keys. I got them